Counselor Deere.
Why are our owls blinking at us?
Don't worry about it.
It's okay then.
We should name them, by the way. Like Liberty and Justice or something. What if one would like give a hoot or don't salute? Yeah.
So once again, Allison, would you just explain again to everyone who's virtual as well as I think we have Facebook people
Sure.
too, just the operation again, and then we'll get into the open podium.
Sure. So we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. And we do have open podium. We don't have any Zoom attendees in the room as of right now. So if anyone did want to participate, they need to go to the homepage of the website and log into the meeting at Zoom, and then you can participate that way. When we do the public hearing, if you're in the Zoom room and you wanted to participate, you would just raise your hand, or you could ask a question in the Q&A.
Very good, thank you. And with that, we will open up the open podium. If there's anyone in the room who would like to, looks like they're okay there. And so anyone anyone raise their hand here?
Nope, we know the people in the room.
Okay, very good. Then we will move on to item 4, which is of course the approval of the minutes. We have 2 of them, which we'll make a motion separately. We have the October 27th and the November 3rd minutes. If anyone has any questions, but of course we need a motion to approve these.
Mr. Supervisor, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for October 27th. I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And Mr. Supervisor, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 3rd. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Excellent. And we have abstract number 22, item 5.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 22 in the amount of $242,056.66.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 6, of course, and it's got 2 minutes to go, but that's all right, we can discuss this. We have the public hearing on local law as it relates to building permits for sheds. Attorney Fortesky, I think you've explained this to us a little bit. You want to do a little overview, and then we'll, if any of the board has discussion, then we can go into a public hearing.
Sure. As I think I explained at the last meeting, the building construction and fire code for the state of New York has been changed to allow for sheds of up to 144 square feet, 12 by 12, without a building permit. Our code allows for 100 square feet right now. So all we would be doing is changing the number from 100 to 144 to conform with New York State Building Fire Code.
Okay. Board have any comments or
I
conversations?
would just clarify that it does not change the setbacks and so forth, so you might still have to go and get a variance if you want to put your shed too close to the edge.
That is correct. Now, the difficulty with that is you're not going to be able to, we aren't going to be able to police it because
They don't have to get a
because
permit.
they have to get a building permit, but if a neighbor complains, then we can enforce it.
All right. Okay,
I make a motion to waive the reading.
very good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And we need a motion to go into the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to go into the public hearing on local law 2021 dash.
Whatever it is there.
I think we're on 9 now.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and as usual with the public hearing, just ask if anyone has any comments that is again virtual or in here in the room. Have any comments they want to make? We just ask that you introduce yourself, stand at the podium, wherever you are standing, and make comments or ask questions about this resolution.
No.
No one here, so,
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
okay.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right,
I have a quick
so,
question before
Yes.
we, so are these structures, they have to be qualified as sheds? So with the sort of the new small building or tiny home movement, a 12 by 12 is still pretty small, but this wouldn't qualify for any sort of manufactured building that would have any kind of septic or even a composting toilet or something.
No, I believe we define shed, as something without, public plumbing or without kitchens. So a shed, what you're describing, a tiny home would have to have a kitchen, would have to have plumbing, would have to have everything necessary for you to live in. Sheds you can't live in.
Right, but it could be an office. It could be a shed that's not just for storing items, like a she shed. Or a crafting station or something.
And
Yes.
can somebody use it that way? Probably,
Awesome, just.
probably.
I've been thinking she shed since we opened this item, so I'm really glad it came up. Really good.
If you already have a shed, are you allowed to put an additional shed of this size?
If you already have a shed, we allow, I don't think we have a limit on the number of accessory buildings or sheds in the town of Manlius.
Awesome, thank you. Okay.
so
I have a shed.
we have a heat and a sheet shed. There you go. So, all right, with that,
So are you all set? Heather?
Yeah.
anything
Okay,
else?
so I'd make a motion to approve. Oh, you already did. Oh, you,
Nope.
all right.
Go ahead.
Approve local law 2021-9.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Very good. All right, that is done. All right, item 7, we have the town budget, which is in our final adoption process today. I think we do have a PowerPoint presentation that Elaine has put together for us. Sarah, are you doing the overview? Okay, so if you want to bring that up for us.
So, counselors, we did make some changes between the preliminary and final. We overall reduced the expenses from the preliminary to the final. And we adjusted some of the appropriation amounts that were in the preliminary to the final. There is a handout with this information, which we will have to vote on after the presentation. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Are we up? Okay. So the first part of this presentation is similar to what was provided before. We do have the two areas of taxation with villages and without villages. And then we also have special districts, which include primarily trash, brush, and fire EMS, but there are other special districts depending on where you live. You might be in another special district. One of the things that I'm sure all employers can relate to is the increase in expenditures for town benefits. So this is turned out to be one of our largest expenses is our employee benefit package. To get into the revenue sources, the key element here is to have, property taxes are by far our largest source of revenue, but we want you to know that we do collect funds from other places. We do have grant funding included in this budget. And we would hope to be continuing to diversify our funding with additional sources. This is not significantly different than what we had in the preliminary, except I do want to draw your attention to the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA dollars, which we mentioned last time, but we didn't actually incorporate them. They are now incorporated in the budget. And here we have the American Rescue Plan. So the majority of this money that we did receive, we have not planned anything for. That will be planned during 2022, and we can spend it up until 2026. But we did identify that communications was an emergency related type of expense that we were a little bit behind on. And so we have allocated for some communication upgrades that we would be implementing early in the year. And then if we decide on some other expenses, we can make a budget shift during the summer to do something different later in the year. But these were identified as items that would be appropriate for ARPA money. They were therefore taken out of the taxable dollars, the regular property tax dollars. And put into ARPA. So now our overall budget, again, the part-time count is the smaller slice of the pie that we have within the town-wide budget. The largest expenses are police, highway, and health insurance, and you can see the other slices there. In the part-town, so the donut's the same size, but it's of a smaller pie slice.
Right.
Highway is the biggest. Highway is the biggest amount, and then they have their benefits, which are also quite large. And then our planning and zoning department, which is also in the B group, is a little smaller. When you add in all of the special districts, you can see that in addition to the highway and police and the benefits, which we already identified as being the larger slices, we have the trash and brush, fire EMS, and stormwater as being other things that we spend money on that impact the overall town budget. The town assessment roles are fairly consistent, really over the years, and we do show some difference between assessment and taxable value due to the exemptions that people can get. And exemptions are due by March 1st. So if you think you might be eligible for an exemption, please apply. The new information is here. It's our tax rate. We're happy to say that we were able to keep the tax increase below the 2%. And we overall on the tax side of the town without special districts, it's 1.45. And these are the amounts. So we would expect the rate to be 4.77 outside the villages and 3.64 within the villages for 2020. Oops, sorry, for 2022. We would expect to see that it is that way. Which way is it? This way? Okay. So for 2022, it's $4.84, and for inside the villages it'd be $3.71.
Right.
So I read that backwards. Here's the great slide. This thanks to Clerk Weber for thinking of this and Councilor Denton for making it. This is a typical house in the town of Manlius with what their how their tax breakout would actually be. So when you get your taxes in a couple months, if you actually read through it, you should see numbers similar to this. And it kind of helps you understand what portion of your town tax is going to these things. Now, in the bill you actually get in January, it includes the county as well, but these would be what your town portion is going toward.
And two, if I can, the top four would be the town hall. So that would be, you would see on your tax bill, because I see it on mine, but it wouldn't be broken out like this exactly, but we're just kind of showing, you know, where that money is going. So when you see the town hall amount, this is kind of where,
And you see it all rolled together, but
Yeah,
this is help you
exactly.
help you understand what those dollars are going for.
And then too, like here, they're in a trash district, a brush district, but other places might have a lighting district, a drainage district. But this is just
But in terms of thinking, if I say, is the trash district a good deal for me? Can I go and have a private hauler for $375
Right.
a year?
Yeah.
Probably not. So that's the kind of thing you can use this information to
Yeah.
share. So with that, we want to thank you for your attention to this issue and ask for, I will make a motion to approve these changes as articulated from town manager Anu, which we thank her very much for her efforts at figuring all this stuff out. And to understand that a portion of this fund is also allocating the ARPA. Does that have to be a separate motion
Say that again.
to allocate ARPA money?
There's a separate motion from the budget.
Allocate ARPA money for purposes of the budget,
Yes.
but it's already included
already
in the
included,
budget.
yeah.
I don't think you need a separate motion.
Okay.
Right, that's
So I would move that this set of changes be authorized by the board.
And I will second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I do want to add to the
Yep.
presentation is it currently on the website. I'm going to make sure it's as accurate as possible and we will be putting it on the website so anybody can refer back to it whenever they want.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Before I wrap it up, I did want to just touch base on the comptroller's fiscal stress monitoring system. I know there's always a question about how does this really work, you know? So I handed out a couple of pages here, which explains there's two different factors. There's a financial indicator, which evaluates the budgetary solvency. And then you have the environmental indicator, which evaluates outside influences that impact revenue and service mix, which I'm going to give you a little example here because we actually had a reduction in the environmental indicator this year or last year. So as you can see, the scoring is the higher the number, not the best. Okay, the lower number, the better. So the closer you get to zero, that means you are very well. It looks very good for the fiscal stress monitoring system. The next page, unfortunately, wasn't able to get the 2019 on here. But as you can see, over the last 8 years, I think we are, 9 years, we've gone from in the budgetary side of it, which is the financial. We've been at zero for the longest time. Then in 2018, it went to 3.3. 2019 and 2020, it still is at 3.3, far below any stress factor. Now the environmental, as you can see at the last one I have on there, 2018 was at 10%. And 2019, it was also at 10%. And this year, which is the end of 2020, it went to 3.3%. And down to 3.3. So I know there's as I said, Caitlin, I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but there are calculations that are used in all of these, and they break it down with both your financial as well as your
Do we have that
environmental.
that you're looking at or no?
Nah, this is something that I'll send you.
So is 2020 in the financial side, was 2020 also 3.3?
Yes, that didn't change. All right, so 2020 changed on the environmental to 3.3. And it's interesting because I said, what changed, you know? So I went in and looked at all the different indicators that they have. And over on one side, it shows what their score is. And I compared it to the year prior. And so where it had changed was in the percent change in home value, which I found interesting. There's a calculation with a median value of an owner occupied housing, and they compare it to the CPI, Consumer Price Index, 5-year average. So that was in 2014. The numbers up to 2018 were the same. And then in 2019, the median value of the home occupied housing was a higher number, and the CPA was a lower number. Okay, so the calculator is based on the median value of an owner occupancy housing and the 5-year average of a CPI. So the calculation on the property value was higher on the CPI than it was prior years, 0 points. So it's all about the calculation. And it was just, I said, I really banged my head up, just finding that out, But I just had to find out what was the difference. And then when I spoke to the assessor, he says, well, home value occupancy this year may change. And of course, the CPI went up, 6.2% this year. But this is a 5-year average they take. So we have no idea I don't know what the 5-year average would be. All I know is that the 6.2 is the highest increase since 1990. But then again, we'll see how that averages out. So next year, it could still be 0, where it stays at 3.3 for the environmental side. The good thing is we're nowhere near any fiscal stress, all right? And if you look at that last page, which is all written out, we've always had one of the lowest percentile rankings of all the municipalities in New York State, as others have sometimes increased. So you can look this over. We don't have any issues with our fiscal stress score at all. and we want to keep it that way, right? So I just wanted to touch base on that briefly. It's really a lot of information there. And I would certainly like to thank the Finance Committee, Caitlin and Sarah, as well as especially Ann.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And of course, with the help and municipal budget expertise guidance of Matt Dunn, our accountant too. Elaine, great work with the PowerPoint presentations, and all the board members to finalize the vote this evening. But last but not least, I think we need to really thank the departments for what they have done since we first got together in August. And I mean, the largest ones, as you know, are the police and the highway, very cooperative in trying to make these things work and get our tax rate increases lower, below 2%. And a lot of that was Finance Committee work too, and putting everything together. So I just wanted to thank all the departments as well as the board, and specifically for all the work that's been done since you started this in August, which should be June. So,
And did a payroll upgrade.
yes, that's right, that's right.
And
So,
we will have recommendations for our incoming supervisor for how we will handle it a little bit differently in 2022 to make the process easier for everyone, annuitized over the year rather than lumping it all into the very end of the year. So hopefully that streamlines it.
sounds good to
It's
me.
already. We already have calendar invites on Sarah's and my calendar, so we can check on our incoming.
There's definitely been a good
supervisor.
learning process and some things that we did talk about getting into the first quarter of.
Yeah, that's why I put them on my
next year.
calendar. What we said made sense, because once you're out of it, you don't remember anymore.
Yeah,
So it's on the calendar with the notes for exactly what I thought we should do based on our
yeah,
discussion.
I
So
think that was great.
next year it'll be smoother and a more even keeled process over the course of 12 months.
Right. So, all right.
I wrote that down.
Did you write all that
That's the minute.
Pass it around.
It was they're literally on my calendar, and I invited Sarah Wallinger to attend, so.
I received that
Perfect.
invitation.
I missed receipt of it.
And then I will come to the presentation.
Yeah, well, there you
Oh, that
go.
would be so fun.
I may do it virtually. I don't
There you go.
As-
You
as
can
like in
actually
his sweater,
comment on
that's
our
it.
public hearing.
The sweater.
Not watching on the Zoom.
No, he's doing kettlebell workout.
Oh,
There we go.
geez, here we go. Okay.
Every time someone makes a silly joke at town board, you have to throw a kettlebell.
Wow. Better be a light one. All right, so let's move on, all right? Well, this is easy. Rob is unable to make it tonight, so we
No,
won't
no,
have
we
any,
need to-
unless you had anything from that. Didn't we pass it?
The changes.
Yeah, we got to vote on the budget. You have to
Oh, I
vote
thought
on
we
the
did.
budget.
We did the
Okay, now
changes
we did the
after.
change, but not the final.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Okay.
do that.
So we move to finalize the 2022 town Manlius budget as described.
Okay,
And I will second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right. I didn't see any opposition.
Finalize and adopt.
Adopt.
And a doctor.
Yes, as amended.
Now we can skip over Rob. All right, Tim, do you have anything?
The only thing I had is, I sent today the host community agreement that I've been working on with CD, right? And the pilot. I did look at it today. I gotta say, I didn't go in depth on it, but I mean, the numbers all looked like the numbers that we had agreed to. So I don't know if you're in a position tonight, all right, so let's hold it for the
For
next
next time.
meeting, but,
What was the amount that they said is this what they?
5.5, the watts.
No, how much they were
Pilot.
gonna, was this the one where they were gonna give a lump sum to
yeah. 35,000,
single Manlius?
yeah,
And how much is it?
35.
That is great.
Yeah.
I look forward to voting on this at our next town board meeting.
Yeah, so everybody look through it, make sure it comports to with what you think.
I will see if
I
it
told you
comports.
already.
I
But
will
also
check.
keep in mind that there's 3 separate projects, so you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
add them all
yeah.
together in
Yeah,
order to
that's what I
get
was
the.
doing. I was looking, opening all the
Yeah,
documents and being like, I don't know if that
Yeah.
number.
There are
right?
3 separate projects, 2 of them are 5 megawatts and 1 of them is 1.9.
Yeah, and they left the tax map number blank, so it doesn't tell you which one we're talking about.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll-
The only question I had, I know with this was 15 years, is that with the town of Manlius and not with Incentives and?
That is with the town of Manlius, not with Osida. So it's a 15-year
Okay.
pilot. They said they had talked to Osida and Osida wasn't interested in doing it that
So we're
way.
doing it.
So we're doing it on our own and we're getting our pro rata share of the 5 megawatts.
Good question.
Well, the 11 and a half.
Okay.
So we'll vote on that.
So we'll vote on it at the next meeting. I'll let him know. I don't think I told him, I'm like, you just sent it to me. He really wanted us to do it tonight.
He had this email with like, I look forward to hearing from you in this meeting, and I thought, yeah.
I want to read these, because it's
Yeah.
been such a hot button
Yeah.
issue, and people want to make sure we're doing our due diligence.
It's-
Turning it around in 24 hours is not the
Her
best.
completely. And then the other thing is we do have to, it's technically not executive session, we have to go into attorney-client privilege session to discuss a letter that we received from the Department of Environmental Conservation today about, it's not a litigation matter, it's a,
No.
it's a completely separate type of matter. I'd like to do some legal advice on it.
Very good. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Allison?
I have nothing.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say what tomorrow is?
All right, let's
I'm not
make it
embarrassed
so,
of my
all right.
age, so yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a
Gonna make
birthday.
a-
It's your birthday.
A big number. I'm sorry, a big birthday.
Oh, milestone.
Milestone.
Happy
Listen,
birthday,
I'm
Allison.
very happy with 40. I wouldn't take back any of the lessons I learned and do this again.
So I think that we should all just wish Allison a happy 40th birthday.
Yeah, happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday, Allison, for her first year
Yeah.
celebrating.
My daughter turned it earlier and I said, I remember when I was 40. She goes, well, you were an older 40.
It's Allison's birthday.
No, I'm still an older
He's
40.
providing legal advice.
Yeah. That's good. All right.
When were you 40?
that's all
That
you
was
have. All right, Chief, what do you have for us
40s are
tonight?
awesome, by the way.
Not much, just calls have been steady, not anything crazy, which is good. Wood.
Yeah.
Our new SBO started Wednesday, he's doing really well,
What's with you?
FF. And lastly, we have 5 police officers in field training, and they all are doing great.
That's fantastic.
Which school? Or is he
He's
Yeah,
in
going?
training, they're out of the, yeah, they
Probably just came.
Okay, well, let me know, because the Vivian loves hers at Dale, and Aliana loves hers a lot.
Police officers.
I'll tell you, we need to directing our traffic and
Chief, I want to thank you and your team for getting announcements out on Facebook with some of these, being aware of
Yes.
locking up at night when you, when you settle in. Because we've had, up in Manila, we had some break-ins up that way. I know they've been,
There's some big
Manlius
break-ins.
too, I believe. They've been sort of all over the place, So thank you for that. It's really good to get that information out to the community. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Ann, do you have anything for us this evening? Had a lot.
Anne's done
And
enough.
needs a
Done
vacation.
enough.
Yeah, she needed
She's
a round of
all right.
applause.
You weren't kidding.
And Anne's done with the budget.
All right, I don't see any committee reports. We have, I don't see anything, right? All right, so
My
we
peanut butter.
can have them at the next meeting. How's that? Okay. The only thing I have is 2 quick things. I just wanted to follow up. I forget if I sent this to the board or not. But we did get a letter back from the DOT on the speed and traffic up on 298.
Oh, that was fast.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this was actually, they sent this they told us it was coming, okay? And it finally did make it actually to the residents as well as I was copied on it. Bottom line is they feel that the speed posted is appropriate, okay? The prevailing feed, flow, speed, and which the majority of the drivers are traveling. In the absence of law enforcement, drivers are influenced more by the appearance of a highway and prevailing traffic speeds rather than a posted limit. So setting the speed limit at the prevailing free flow speed decreases conflicts, minimizes crashes, and makes it easier for vehicles and pedestrians to judge the speed of the approaching vehicles. Okay, does that sound about right, chief? All right. So, but however, the DOT will be enhancing the signage for Route 298 at Carker Road and Route 298 at Sheps Corner Road intersections. These signs will be installed by the New York State DOT maintenance forces as soon as the materials are procured and their work schedule permits.
So
So-
that could be, in Manlius, the village, it took years to get that done.
To get the signs that
Yeah.
you need to the signage.
Yeah, they just kept saying that they're like, the work schedule, so we'll wanna stay on top of them
Sure.
if it's been months.
Yeah, yeah.
And by we, I mean people that'll still be here at the end.
What are the
Yeah.
signs at, though?
Do they say?
I don't know.
So this is probably disappointing news for the residents who are really concerned.
Well, I didn't hear back from them, because I know they were copied on this, but I imagine, yeah, sure that, I mean, I was disappointed when I read it. I went, well, you know, there's the letter that they
I
said.
did try to mention while they were here that this was what I expected, because
Yeah.
a lot of times you think this is the problem. So you come in and say, I think I need more stop signs, I need speed bumps, I need a red light, or whatever you think the solution is. But a lot of times those aren't slowing the speeds of the cars down or putting lots of stop signs actually makes it worse.
Yeah,
So it's like you think it's counterintuitive, but it's true. So the traffic calming measures that they mentioned, we could plant more trees on the sides of the road. There are things we could do that would improve it. So like if you just, we've talked about this before. If you just look up traffic calming, just Google it, and you'll see all these different maps and stuff, and you'll realize that you do it too. Like you'll be on certain roads and you'll think, go really, really fast. It's just human nature because it looks like a racetrack.
Right. I
If
see
you
what
put
you're
different
saying.
things and you have these traffic calming measures, trees is the best example. Like imagine like a village where there's big canopies and cars on the sides of the road, you're much more likely to go 25 miles an hour. If you cut down all those trees and you get rid of the cars on the sides of the road and it's just wide open, all of a sudden you're like, "Phew," it's just how we think is human, so.
okay,
I would say also the little traffic people with the plastic traffic people with the flag. I know that it's
Yeah.
hard to recommend to residents that they are the ones to procure them all the time. And maybe it's something we think about, like having those at a discount or something.
Mm.
But hopefully people will put those out too, to start signaling to folks
Yeah.
that they need to slow down.
And we still need to work with CSX and figure out, and the town of DeWitt, and figure out what we are gonna do for getting some of these trucks going a different way.
I did reach out to CSX. Actually, it was a follow-up email that I sent back in May. They said they were gonna look into it, and I have not heard back. So I'll do one more. I did it for that and for another issue I mentioned to you.
Perhaps we can reach out to our assemblyman and our senator and see if they can help us to
Sure.
make
Yeah.
some inroads. Because if they're not, May was quite a while ago, if they're not responding to us.
Yeah, well, yeah, I sent it like 2 weeks ago, I think. is what I
Okay,
sent it.
so
But
we
I,
can see how it goes.
yeah, I can follow up again on that. You know, so,
Thank
yeah, and
you.
I'm surprised, I may just call him because I'm surprised he didn't get back to me.
Yeah.
So, all right, and the last thing I have is a supervisor's report. Need that, a motion to approve that, those, I should say.
I'll make a motion to approve the supervisor's report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and that's all I have, and I think we need a motion for executive session.
For attorney-client.
Attorney-client,
So I'll make a motion to go into attorney-client privilege.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, very good, everyone. Let's do
And
that.
after we're done, we'll come back out into open session.
Yes,
And,
I will
I
finish up the.
won't be long.
It's the-
Sarah,
It's very Halloween-like.
It's the old dad joke.
you are a walking dead. joke,
Oh,
my
I
friend.
know, I know. So is your father.
My dad is, yeah.
All right, so,
So I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
make a motion to have the supervisor send a letter to the DEC adjusting to the lead agency on the new mining application due to the fact the parcel is not zoned correctly. Yes?
Jesus.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Right?
And just,
No, well-
it's a letter from DEC dated November 1st. That's all. Just put that in there. That's what we're
That's good,
responding
because
to.
that's from the 30 days.
Yeah.
All right, I don't have anything else myself,
Well,
so.
what about happy Thanksgiving, everybody?
Oh, we could do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We won't have another meeting till December, so.
Yeah.
I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Wow, it's gonna be a
And,
minute before we see each other.
Yes, it should be,
Good.
hopefully no snow.
Yeah.
So now we can have a motion.
Peaceful and happy Thanksgiving.
I'd like to make a motion that we all have a nice Thanksgiving
I'd like to make a
And-
motion to close the
and
meeting.
that we end the meeting.
And adjourn.
And we adjourn.
And second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very
John,
good.
you're
Thanks, everyone.
Allison, how do we do?